Kenston's the same way, but it's a little different feeling when you got a 12-point lead.
It's also a little tougher on the defense than it is on the offense usually, because the offensive players know where they're supposed to be, and the defensive players are trying to react to everything. The give is to McClintock. McClintock gets about a yard, maybe. It'll be third down. Let's call it about 3. It's a lot easier on a field like this to act than it is to react. Reacting is very, very difficult out in this kind of field condition. And once again, the rain is beginning to pick up, and it's starting to rain even harder than it was before.
Isn't that a physics theory, Joe? Something about reacting for every... How's it go?
Yeah, it's easier to act than it is to react.
Something like that.
Yes.
Or it's a Robert Browning poem. One of the others.
I'm not so sure about that. Here's the anyway. The give is to McClintock, and McClintock is not the ball carrier. Fooled everybody, and I believe, who is that? Is that Darren Walker who carried the ball? No, Duross. Duross just kept it. David Duross did a good job of taking me right out of the play, and it'll be, we're going to have a measurement here, see whether he got the first down or not. It looks like it's very, very close. Looks like he just got it.
Duross is signaling they have it.
He got it by about the nose of the football. The white stripe there on the football is about where the first down marker came up there. So it'll be 1st and 10. Let me remind you once again that if you want to start your Sunday morning off with a laugh, you can do it with Maryland whiskey, only in the Geauga Times Leader. Call 564-5707 or 286-6101 for 12 weeks of 7-day delivery for only $12. The Geauga Times Leader, your local paper. And here's the give once again to McClintock, I believe, and he gets virtually nothing. And it'll be 2nd down and 10.
Yeah, I think the entire West Street defense knew that play was coming. I swear you had 8, 9 kids in on that play.
2nd down, let's call it 10 yards to go for the Kenston Bombers. Wide to the left comes Walker. Tight to the left is Andy Gerd. Tight to the right is Darrell Wodecki. And in the backfield, it is Lurch up and McClintock back in the eye. McClintock almost lost the hand on the ball, and he came down to about the 37, make that the 33-yard line. And he got a lucky hop right there. That ball was rolling right out of his hands, and it bounced right back to him.
Yeah, it was kind of a high hand up. I think he hit him in the shoulder pad. I don't know about you guys, but one thing I'm impressed about Kenston is they're running the same offense they've ran all year, even on dry field conditions. And that's a big credit to their ball club. You know?
It's not easy to do under this kind of a field condition here. Andy Gerd comes wide to the left. The slot left is Walker. Tight to the right is Wodecki. Duross on the quarterback draw. He's going to run at 30, 25, 20, 15, and down to about the 11-yard line. It'll be 1st and 10 for Kenston, deep in West Geauga territory at the West Geauga 11. And a play that we've seen David Duross run a number of times this season, almost always successfully, works again.
Yeah, we have to give a lot of credit to assistant coach Frank Kipko. I believe he calls the offensive plays, and he's really mixing them up tonight like he has in other games. And it's really difficult for West Geauga to defense at this point.
1st and 10 at the 11-yard line. Duross fumbles the snap, and he has to go all the way back to the 15-yard line to field it. Number 78, Mike Petronis, in there right on top of him. Of course, he would have been down anyway because he had to go down on the ground to recover the ball. Loss of 4. It'll be 2nd and 14.
Dave just never got the snap from center. It's, again, that falls back under just a wet ball this evening. It's tough to execute simple snaps on wet fields.
2nd down, 14 yards to go for Kenston. Tight to the left is Gerd, tight to the right is Wodecki, and the slot right is Walker. It's McClintock left, and Drew Tewksbury right in the T. The give is to McClintock, and McClintock is down to about the 13. He picked up about 2 of the yards that were lost. It'll be 3rd down and long yardage for Kenston at the West 13-yard line.
Yeah, that fumble snap. Oh.
And that's the end of the 3rd quarter. The 3rd quarter is over with our score. Kenston 12, West Geauga nothing. We'll be back. Scarola with John Walsh and Mick Narouche at Howell Field, a very wet Howell Field at West Geauga High School, and Kenston will have the ball. Let's call it third down and 10 yards to go at the 13-yard line of the West Geauga Wolverines. Duross to throw. Rolling to his left, steps up, fires, it is dropped by Darrell Wodecki, who couldn't hold it down at the 2-yard line, and it'll be fourth down.
I'll tell you, Wodecki is just a huge target out there. He was covered by the West Geauga secondary men, but they look like midgets trying to cover it, like in Gulliver's Travel. Little Putium, is it, or
something like that?
Something like close enough. I can't even pronounce Joe, as I illustrated earlier. So
yes, you didn't.
Here's that particular word.
Yes, and there were a couple of names that I couldn't pronounce there, frankly. I can tell you. Fourth down, and Kenston is going to go for it here on 4th and 10 from the West G 13-yard line. David Duross drops the throw. Steps into the pocket, has some room to the outside, is going to try to run at 20, 15, gets away from one man, 10. He's forced out of bounds around the 6-yard line. He will be short of the first down, and Kenston will give the ball over to West Geauga on downs, but the Wolverines will have it very deep in their own territory down at their own 6-yard line.
Yeah, this is not a situation West G needs right now. You got the rains are pouring as heavy as ever. They're deep in a hole. They're 12 points down on the scoreboard. Things don't look good at the moment for West Geauga. A point I wanted to make at the end of the third quarter was it's a credit to the centers and quarterbacks out here that we haven't had as many fumble snaps from centers as we've seen tonight. I can only think of 3 offhand, and one of them I can directly attribute to quarterbacks. Centers are doing an excellent job. They never get credit, but tonight we got a couple fine ones out there.
Needless to say, it's going to be a long march for West G here, trailing by 12, and the give is to Julian, and Julian gets out to about the 10-yard line. Bob Lurch stopped him there, a gain of 4. It'll be second and 6 for West G at the 10, and at this point of the ball game, Kenston will let them do that as much as they want.
Yeah, all Kenston's going to do is containment, passive defense. They're going to give them all the room they want. They just don't want to get burned deep, and kind of the way they played the whole second quarter.
Second down and 6. Wide to the left is Mazurko. Wide to the right is Sabraco. Tight to the right is Blasey. Up in the eye, I believe, is Lorenzo, and back is Julian. And Craddock to throw under heavy pressure, and he's going to be stopped right at the line of scrimmage. Call it no gain on the play. Once again, Bill Smith makes his presence felt just like he did last week, almost for the entire game. And it'll be third down. Actually, there's a loss on the play. Let's call it back to about the 5-yard line. It'll be 3rd and 11 for West G.
I tell you, West Geauga is not showing much imagination. It's either hand the ball to Julian or pass with Craddock. So far, that's been about their whole offensive game plan this evening.
Third down, let's call it 11. Wide to the right comes Mazurko. Wide to the left is Dave Sturlikar. Now moving tight to the right is Blasey. It's Julian left and Lorenzo right in the tee behind Craddock, who rolls the throw. Back at about the 5-yard line, fires it upfield, caught by Blasey. He's across the 20, out to about the 23-yard line, and he has a West G first down. 1st and 10 for West Geauga, and they're going to mark him out of bounds at the 20-yard line of West G.
Again, that's pointed up the passive defense that Joe and I were talking about. Again, Darren Walker, he must have been 40 yards down the field, and they just threw underneath the covers. It was a smart play on Craddock's part.
With time running out on West Geauga, they have to score and score quickly, and in this field condition, it's very difficult to drive a long way really fast. Wide to the left is Mazurko. Inside of him is Sabraco. Rolling to throw is Craddock. Steps up, fires it up the middle, and it's caught, or to the sideline rather. Caught on a beautiful catch by Greg Sabraco across the 30 at the 33-yard line, 1st and 10.
Yeah, it was a nice little pattern. There was nice sliding into it to make the catch. Good reception by the receiver.
And once again, Greg Sabraco got underneath that very deep Kenston zone, and he was wide open, and Greg Craddock laid the ball right into him, even though the pass was a bit low. It was on the money, and Sabraco made the catch for a 13-yard gain, 1st and 10. Wide to the right is Sturlikar. Wide to the left is Sabraco. Sabraco comes in motion right. Tight to the left is Blasey. And the give goes to Julian. Julian across the 35 out to the 39. He's stopped there, I believe, by Bob Lurch, a gain of 4. It'll be 2nd down, about 6.
I Like I'm saying, the unimaginative offense that West Geauga is showing tonight, it's almost like you could put a man on Julian, follow him around. If he's got the ball, fine. If not, then you can just trail him out in the reception area, cover him. Because he's only doing two things, hand the ball to Julian or pass.
Second down, let's call it 6 yards to go. Blasey comes wide to the left. Now he'll switch and come to the right as Sabraco comes in motion left. Wide to the right is Mazurko, and the give is to Julian. Julian hit once in the backfield, gets away from one man. He's thrown down as he gets out to about the 38-yard line, lost a yard, and there's also a flag.
Yeah, way back deep in the secondary area. Did anyone see what happened?
No, I was watching the fine play by Bill Smith, the nose guard. He's the one that really slowed up that whole play by the deep penetration and missile hit on Craddock.
Blocking below the waist against West G, another costly penalty for the Wolverines.
Yeah, that was a very stupid block, whatever it was, because it was well away from the side of the field where the play was occurring. It was deep in the secondary area. There were plenty of people to block up closer to the line. I don't know why the man went down there to block somebody.
So while we have a moment, I'd like to give some credit to Coach Lee Barthelmess. He's been with the Kenston Bombers for 7 years now, and as a defensive coordinator, I have to give him my hat's off because we watched Kenston 4 times now, and I'm very impressed with how sound their defense is. The kids all play their positions very well, and definitely contributes to his fine coaching. And I know Coach Cabela would echo my same feelings because behind every great head coach is a whole bunch of very, very fine assistant coaches.
And I'd also like to take time out to thank all the fine people from West Geauga High School once again for their outstanding cooperation. Superintendent Dr. Robert Gilson and principal of the high school, William Pierce, the athletic director and football coach Mike Posguy, Karen Obertil, the booth bouncer, and Ted Lewis, the longtime public address announcer, who was also very helpful to us tonight before the game. And Craddock's pass intended for Julian is incomplete. That'll bring up third down and forever for West G. They've got about 25, 30 yards to go there. It'll be third down and very, very long back at the 22-yard line of West Geauga.
Now, the way this game is going right now, even if we reach the fourth down situation, West G almost has to go for it, even this deep in their territory. We got, third down and 22?
Third down and more than that. Let's see. Third down and, yeah, about third down and 22. Right on, John. Third and 22.
Yeah. That's where I read it.
I can't see the board. I had to mark it off myself. Back to throw, Craddock. Now under heavy pressure, rolls to his left. Steps up, fires, and it is caught beautifully by Jim Julian. That was a beautiful catch in the middle of a lot of traffic. Nice throw by Craddock. It'll still be short of the first down, however, over the 40-yard line. It'll be fourth down and about 4. And in this situation, West G is virtually forced to go for it.
Yeah, that pass was in heavy coverage. I tell you, it had to be right there. If it had drifted 6 inches either side, there were Kenston defenders all around it. That pass had to be exactly where it was thrown to be received.
It was a pretty pass by Greg Craddock. Bill Van Horn leads the West Geauga offense out to their positions. Wide to the left on this fourth down play is Sabraco. Wide to the right is Sterlikar. Tight to the right is Blasey. Now Sabraco comes into a slot left and now comes in motion right. Left is Lorenzo. Right is Julian behind Greg Craddock, and Craddock rolls to his right. Steps the outside, slips and falls. Might have been hit. Might have been hit. I couldn't see it there, but it looked to me like he slipped. And he's down to the 35-yard line, and Kenston will take over on downs, first and 10 at the West G 35.
Great defensive stand by Kenston. We got the ball. Excellent field position. They got to have 7.5 minutes, and I look for them to hold on to that ball as many of those minutes as possible before they score.
7.5 minutes left in the ball game, and as Mick Narouche said, they're going to be looking to run as much time off of that clock as possible. It's not imperative that Kenston score. The big objective for them now is to cut some time off the clock. The give is to number 34. No, that's number 44, Ken McClintock. And McClintock picks up about 2-3 yards, tackled by a horde of Wolverines. Tom Powers in on the play, number 54, and number 56, Jeff Pitcock was right in there. There you see our score with about 7 minutes to play in the ball game. Kenston 12, West Geauga nothing.
It'll be interesting to see what West Geauga does when they get the ball back, because you got to break the big ones. You don't have the luxury of the little short dumps. You don't have the luxury of the slower little through the lines. You got to make big plays happen.
Second down, let's call it about 8 yards to go for Kenston. Walker in the slot right, and I believe the Bombers are going to be called now for using too much time. The delay of game against Kenston, knock them back another 5.
Probably a case of the coach saying, run as much time as you can. Quarterback Duras just called it a little too close.
It'll be second down after the penalty. Let's call it 13 yards to go for the Kenston Bombers. We're back at about the 39-yard line of West Geauga. Walker is in the slot right. Tight to the right is Gerd. Tight to the left is Wodecki. And the give is to Ken McClintock again, and McClintock is down to about the 35-yard line, picked up about 4. It'll be third down. Let's call it 9 yards to go for the Kenston Bombers.
Well, again, Kenston's just doing what we were talking about, just trying to maintain ball control and run that clock out. They're going to take as much time as need be in that huddle. But I'm sure they definitely want to get a first down here.
Third down for Kenston. Let's call it 9 yards to go at the 35. And rolling to his right is David Duras. Duras cuts up the middle, 35 down to about the 32. Tackled there once again by another horde of West Geauga players. Mike Petronis, number 78, in on the play, along with also number 56, Jeff Pitcock, and number 19, Chris Veras. Gain of about 3. It'll be fourth down. Let's call it 4th and 6 at the 32-yard line for Kenston.
That was a nice job by the West Geauga defense. Kenston pulled out their tackle guard combination on the right side to lead the blocky. The West Geauga defenders just stood them up at the line, contained, kept them from getting outside. Real good defensive play.
Fourth down and 7, and the slot left is Walker. And Duras gives the ball to McClintock. McClintock cuts down inside the 30s, down around the 27, 26, and I believe he's going to be stopped just short of the first down. He's short by about a yard, and West Geauga should take over on downs here with the ball at about their own 27-yard line. But with the amount of time that we have left in the ball game, let's see if I can get up here. 4:51 left to play in the game, Mr. Narush tells me. And as we have a momentary timeout out on the field, this may be a good time to remind you that if you want all the local, national, and regional sports news, call the Geauga Times Leader at 286-6101 or 564-5707 for 12 days, or 12 weeks rather, of 7-day delivery for $12. The Geauga Times Leader, your local newspaper.
Well, while we got this break right now, does either one of you want to stick your neck out and make a prediction of who CVC champ is going to be this year?
Yes, the team that wins the most games.
Gutsy call, Mick. Gutsy. Joe, would you like to get a little more specific?
I agree with Mr. Narush's remark.
You always do. You side against me. I'm sick of it, Joe.
No, we don't think of you as Howard Cosell, though, John. Really, no, we don't. We really
Appreciate
don't.
that. And I don't think of you, Joe.
4:51 to play in the ball game as West Geauga takes over after the turnover, after the turnover on downs. First and 10 at the 27-yard line. Wide to the left comes Sterlikar, and the slot left is Sabraco. Tight to the right is Blasey. Now Sabraco comes in motion left, and rolling to his left is Greg Craddock under heavy pressure. Steps up, fires, and it is intercepted by Jeff McClintock. Jeff McClintock, 20, 15, down to the 10, inside the 10, at about the 9-yard line. Well, they're going to say his knee touchdown around the 11. But anyway, it's a Kenston first down deep in West Geauga territory, and that may be all she wrote for the West Geauga Wolverines in this one.
That's the unfortunate position West Geauga was in. They went to the well one too many times. Jeff McClintock played a beautiful cornerback, nice drop, reacted to the pass, ran up and caught it above his head like coaches want him to, because this way the offensive receiver can't get in the action.
Kenston ball, 1st and 10 at the 11. The give is to McClintock. McClintock fights his way down to about the 6-yard line, I'd say. Tackled there by Greg Craddock in the ball game now on defense. And also number 57, Darryl Kalura, who's had a good game. In fact, several good games. We've been watching the West Geauga Wolverines. This is the 3rd time that we've seen the Wolverines this year. The 4th time that we've watched the Kenston Bombers play football in this 1985 season.
And I think I stated earlier, but I'll have to say again that I think this is the finest showing of the 3 we've seen West Geauga. They look more inspired. They're just playing better defense and offense.
And Ken McClintock waltzes in for the score, unmolested. And Kenston makes it an 18-0 ball game. It is 18-0 in favor of the Kenston Bombers. And if they hadn't put the icing on the cake already, gentlemen, they've done it right now.
I have to ask you, John, doesn't that Kenny McClintock remind you a lot of Mike Davies from Chardon? It just so happens that Kenny also placed 3rd in the National Schoolboy Wrestling, just like Mike Davies.
Yeah, and being the size he is and all that, he is like a young Mike Davies. Being only a sophomore, he's got good size, wrestles in the upper weight class and all.
Wodecki will attempt the extra point, and the kick is up, and it is no good, wide to the left. 3 minutes and 20 seconds left in the ball game here at Howell Field at West Geauga High School in Chesterland, Ohio. Our score, Kenston 18, West Geauga nothing. Once again, while we're waiting for the kickoff, this is a good time for me to remind you that if you have something to sell, call the Geauga Times Leader Advisors. They can really help you get all of your stuff on the air, or not on the air. He can help you get all your stuff sold that you need to sell. 286-6101 or 564-5707, the Geauga Times Leader, your local newspaper.
Very well done, Joe.
Thank you, John.
Well, if any time you ever needed it, now is the time West Geauga needs to turn one right around and break it downfield for a long touchdown run out of kickoff.
Mazurko, Julian, and Gianantonio are deep to receive. And there's a high driving kick, and it is taken by Mazurko, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and out to about the 37-yard line. Mike Mazurko is I'm really impressed by what we've seen of him, although he hasn't had a chance to catch too many passes because he's a deep threat without any possibility of having anything deep thrown to him. The way that things have gone here, but he's got a lot of speed, and if he was in a situation where somebody could get on the ball deep, he'd be a real threat for a lot of offense.
Yeah, I know. What we've seen of him earlier this year, he's got real good hands. I don't know why Coach Poe's the guy. He doesn't pull him into shorter pass routes, like Joe said.
1st and 10 at the 37-yard line. Wide to the left is Mazurko. Craddock rolling to his left, gets away from a couple of men. It's a good block there. 35 up the field, and his pass is underthrown and intercepted by Tony Rhea at the 44-yard line of Kenston. And there the Bombers will take it over, 1st and 10. So a ball game dominated pretty well by the Kenston Bomber defense, and they are well on their way to pitching their 2nd consecutive shutout here, a 12-0 blanking of Chagrin Falls, their arch rival last week at home. Tonight they're up on West Geauga, 18-0, with just over 3 minutes to play in the ball game.
We got to keep it in mind, too, that, if it wasn't for that late-minute turnover against Chardon, Kenston would be right in the thick of things in the CVC championship with only one severe loss to Wycliffe. So the Kenston Ball Club is very young, and I see them improving weekly, and I think they're going to have a heck of a game looking down the road when they have their finale against Solon in 2 weeks.
Yeah, if they hadn't lost that ball game against Chardon, you'd have a situation where Kenston would have one loss, Chardon would have one loss, Wycliffe would have one loss. Solon would be undefeated, but they would still have Chardon and Kenston left on their schedule. Of course, Chardon and Wycliffe are playing as we speak, and of course, when you're seeing this game, you will know already what happened in that game. if you follow it, you'll know it already. So you're a little ahead of us here. We're really talking 3 days behind where we are in time.
What'd you say, Joe? Repeat that, please.
I listened to too many philosophy professors when I was in college, I'll tell you. Duras gives the ball to Drew Tewksbury, and Tewksbury is across the 45 out to the 47. Cut down by Jim Julian, a gain of 3. It'll be second down, about 7 yards to go.
I have to say, there's a lot of substitution going down on the field. You see a lot of clean jerseys on the West Geauga side, and darn near the whole offensive line for Kenston right now are just pure white shirts. And I'm sure as hard as both teams have been playing, it's not a case of the boys not getting in the action. It's just new players coming into the game.
Walker comes wide to the left. They're running the double tight end set again, of course. Bob Lurch is one back, and Duras loses the handle and falls on the ball at the 45-yard line. Into the ball game now for Kenston at a running back is number 24, Colin Gerd, brother of Andy Gerd. And it will be 3rd down and 9 for Kenston at the 45-yard line. Looks like we've got a timeout here on the field.
Yeah, West Geauga just took a timeout. I guess they still have a strategy. They want to get some points on the board, salvage something from this evening.
West Geauga offense has had a rough time of it during this 1985 season. The times that we've seen them, they were only able to put 1 score on the board against Orange, even though they moved the ball up and down the field virtually at will the entire game. They were shut out against Chardon until the last play of the game when Greg Craddock threw a 59-yard touchdown pass to Tom Richards. And here tonight, the Wolverines are well on their way to being shut out by the Kenston Bombers, who lead it 18-0 here very late in the 4th quarter. And the give comes to number 25, and that is Rick Rossi, and Rick Rossi is out to midfield. He's cut down there by number 51 of the West Geauga Wolverines, Todd Beninati. West Geauga calls for another timeout. It'll be 4th and 4, and Kenston will punt with the ball 4th and 4 squarely at the midfield stripe.
Yeah, it looks like West Geauga will get there one more chance to try to get some points on the board. Hopefully they can. You see, they played a good ball game tonight. You'd like to see them come out of it with something.
4th and 4. Deep to receive, Mike Mazurko, number 17, Jim Julian, number 30. And of course, the West Geauga team's all set there. The Kenston special teams still conferring with their coaches. It's been a very impressive display by the Kenston Bomber defense, as you mentioned before, Mick, coached by Lee Barthelmess, now in his 7th year as the defensive coordinator. And they've been really outstanding these last 2 weeks. I've been highly impressed. I wonder what happened to them that week when they had 40 points scored on them by Wycliffe. Of course, a dose of Tony Shira is enough to scare a lot of people, frankly. And Wodecki gets a poor snap, and his punt is partially blocked. Hits it about the 45 and rolls dead in the mud at the 40-yard line. So a 10-yard punt by Wodecki. We have a flag down on the play. I think a West Geauga player got a hand on that ball after that low snap.
That was number 54, Paul Powers, got his, just a touch of it to make it a very short, non-typical Wodecki punt.
And the penalty is against Kenston, obviously. Personal foul called against Kenston. Unless it's tacked on after the punt, I would imagine, I'm sure that West Geauga would decline this after a 10-yard kick.
Yeah, I didn't see a dead ball, in fact, and so I think it will be declined.
We'll find out what's going on here. A lot of confusion as the referees are talking to the West Geauga Wolverines, who are discussing the option there, Paul Powers and Darrell Kalura, and now we're going to get the call. Personal foul. What is this personal foul against West Geauga? Well, the first indication that we saw was a personal foul against Kenston. Now they're telling us personal foul against West Geauga. Make up your minds, guys.
Yeah, and the thing is, they were talking to West Geauga players. I don't understand that at all.
That makes it even more strange. All of a sudden, there they are, sitting there discussing the possibilities with the West Geauga players. Then all of a sudden, you see the referee come over and say, personal foul, West Geauga. Doesn't make sense, does it?
I don't know. A team of officials tonight seem to be taking a lot of times making their calls. Then they have to either consult amongst themselves to determine what the infraction penalty is and all. It's, I don't know, maybe it's a new team of referees.
I don't know. Anyway, they look like they've spent the whole afternoon watching Mr. Rogers, but I don't know what it is. I'll tell you, it's going to be 1st and 10 for West Geauga. No, it's 1st and 10 for Kenston, excuse me. 1st and 10 for Kenston as they keep possession on the ball. Apparently it was not a post-possession foul. That's 1st and 10 to the 38-yard line. Once again, David Duras has trouble handling the snap and simply falls on the ball back at the 40-yard line. It was covered there by Daryl Kalura, number 57. It'll be 2nd down and about 12.
Yeah, that looked like a delayed quarterback fall to one knee play. I'm not sure if it was a missed handoff or what. I think he was just running more of the clock before he went down to kill time off.
2nd down and about 12. Wide to the left comes Rick Rossi now, number 25, and we have a few new people in there. We have a lot of new people in there for Kenston, as a matter of fact. Number 12 is the quarterback now, Jim Klimo, and also Darren Kresovic, number 35, is in the backfield. Number 24, Colin Gerd, is still in there. And we have a timeout called by West Geauga. Gentlemen, if you can give me a time check there, because I can't see the clock.
45 seconds.
45 seconds to go in the ball game, and I believe that is West Geauga's final timeout that they have used.
I believe so too, Joe. Ideally, they do want to get that ball back. They just ran into that problems on that punt. It's unfortunate because you would like to see West Geauga get something going. Like I said, salvage something from this bad situation they've run into tonight.
Kenston's in a situation here where they'll be able, to run the ball on 3rd down, run the ball on 4th down. If West Geauga gets the ball back at all, there will be 10 seconds or less left in the ball game. I'm sure that's what they'll do. Mike Poe's guy is talking to his defensive charges. They're coming off the field there as you see him, and we're getting all set for this 3rd down and 10 play for Kenston as Klimo gives the ball now to number 34, Paul Schell, and Paul Schell is down to the 35-yard line. It'll be 4th down. West Geauga cannot stop the clock. Paul Powers, number 54, made the tackle. And we will see what's running down here. We're running down quite a bit. 4th and 8. This will probably be the last play of the ball game, I would imagine. 4th and 8 for Kenston at the 35-yard line of West G, and the Kenston Bombers are just about to record their 2nd consecutive shutout. And they will raise their record to 4-4. A Kenston player racing to get off the field, and he just barely makes it in time.
No, he did.
However, the referees find a delay of game. He did not make it off in time. They had to wait for him to get off the field before they snapped the ball. And by that time, the sands of time had run out on the Bombers.
Actually, that works out fine. Now he just takes the snap, falls down, ball game over.
Well, of course, 4th down, unless we've got 10 seconds or left there, it'd be changed.
4, Joe.
4 seconds.
Yeah, I think it's ball game.
All he's got to do is just drop back and wait for that clock to run out and then down it. Jim Klimo, the quarterback, and he pitches the ball back to Colin Gerd. And Gerd gets to the 38-yard line, and that's the end of the ball game. The ball game is over here. Our final score, the Kenston Bombers 18, the West Geauga Wolverines nothing. Kenston with their 2nd consecutive shutout, improving their record to 4-4. They are now 3-2 in the CBC. West Geauga with their 7th consecutive defeat falls to 1-7. They are 0-5 in CBC play this year. Gentlemen, any final comments?
One brief one. I'd like to congratulate the Kenston Bombers. Another outstanding performance. I see it progressing every week. Just keep up the good work, hard effort, and we wish you the best of the balances of 1985.
And I'd like to congratulate West Geauga. They're in a year where they have no experience, only one returning starter. It's just been a rough season for West Geauga. They've improved, like I said, over the 2 earlier games we've seen. They haven't quit. That's something you got to congratulate in a team. The fact that they're going to play a full season, do a good job under a rough situation. Congratulations to the West Geauga Wolverines.
And they've held their heads high and done as well as they possibly could. Well, that wraps up another CBC Cablevision Geauga Times Leader Game of the Week. I'm Joe Scarola for John Walsh and Mick Narouche and all of